Good morning, all. Thanks for being here. I'm just going to bring our presenter for the day on the screen. You know the drill. If you're just joining us, please feel free to say hello in the chat. Let us know where you're calling in from. Tony, he's already on it, of course. He's tuning in from North America. Welcome, Tony. I'm calling in from just outside of San Francisco. The good news is it's a little more sunny today. We have been hit with some dreary weather recently, so I'm really excited to see the sun. Ryan, I think you're also calling from a bit outside of San Francisco, if I'm not mistaken.
I am just about 30 minutes south of the city. And yeah, it does look like a nice sunny day out there.
Awesome. All right, folks, for those of you just joining us, sorry you're going to hear me repeat myself a couple times this morning. Welcome. Please feel free to say hello in the chat. Let us know where you're calling in from. We're going to get started just maybe a minute or two past the hour to give folks enough time to log on here today, and then I'll hand things over to our presenter, Ryan. Welcome, everyone. All right, we're getting quite the group on board here. I'm going to go ahead and enable our Q&A tab today. So if you have any questions during the duration of today's event, please feel free to type those questions into the Q&A tab. Please, if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A tab. It really just helps us keep things organized. In fact, that's where Ryan will be looking at the end of today's presentation for questions. He will not be going into the chat to sift through to see if there's questions there. So if you have questions and you want them answered, please utilize the Q&A tab, which you all should have access to. Awesome. Welcome, AJ from India. Wow. Okay. In Germany, we've got quite the global group already. And Colombia. Welcome, Gustavo. Happy to have you guys on. Okay. Going to give it about 30 more seconds, and then I'll go ahead and hand things over to Ryan. It does take us just a few minutes to warm up here. For us, it's early morning, so I'm still waking up personally. But for those of you in Germany and India, you've already had the day. So hopefully it was a good one. Awesome. Maxim is doubling the Germany presence. Welcome, you two. And Italy, welcome, Michelle. Awesome. Okay. And with that, Ryan, I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to you to get started. I'm going to make myself scarce, but I'll be here in the background if you need anything.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, great. Thank you all for joining us this morning, afternoon, evening. Appreciate you all dialing in from across the world. As Isabel said, my name is Ryan Stasny, and I'm going to take you through this presentation that I delivered at TDX just a few weeks ago, titled Bring Agentforce to Every Business Process with MuleSoft. Just a quick forward-looking statement. Please make your purchasing decisions based on publicly available products and services. So like I said, my name is Ryan Stasny. I'm a product manager at MuleSoft team. I actually just celebrated my 7th year with MuleSoft, so I've been in the MuleSoft community for quite some time. I originally joined the organization as part of our customer success team, working with customers every day, and then moved into our product organization a few years ago. I look after a number of our product initiatives, including the MuleSoft AI Connectors, which I'll be talking about in today's presentation. And as I mentioned earlier, for those that are Iran, I live in just outside of San Francisco. And I'm expecting my first child in May, so exciting time in my life as well. All right, with that, I will talk through our agenda. So this is how we'll spend the next 20 or so minutes together. I'll first talk a little bit about the trends that we're seeing and some of the challenges that organizations are facing when adopting some of these innovative new AI technologies, and also highlight the clear need for integration in an agentic world. I'll then go through a demonstration of our one of our newest AI connectors, our MuleSoft Agentforce Connector. And then I'll wrap things up by talking about MuleSoft's AI strategy and how we are partnering closely with our Salesforce counterparts on powering the Agentforce narrative. So I won't spend a ton of time on this slide, as I'm confident that if you've been in the Salesforce or MuleSoft ecosystem for some time, you've likely seen it. But the main reason I wanted to include it was that I wanted to acknowledge that we're squarely in the age of AI agents. And while some may want to talk about what's to come in future waves, this presentation is really about the here and now and how we can start to deliver on the promise of these AI agents. So I wanted to share a little bit of data to ground my statement earlier about the fact that we're in this AI agent wave. So both the metrics that you see on this slide come from MuleSoft's 2025 connectivity benchmark report, which is a report that we run annually by interviewing 1,000+ IT leaders from across the globe. I've included a QR code here for those of you that are interested to explore the data further. But the two metrics that I pulled out that I wanted to highlight was that 93% of leaders intend that they are in the survey. 93% of the respondents mentioned that they intend to introduce autonomous agents within the next 2 years, and nearly half already have. As well as 95% of organizations have reported that integration is a significant struggle to implement AI effectively. With those two metrics in mind, what we're seeing is that meaningful ROI from AI projects remains elusive, and both MuleSoft and Salesforce are committed to helping our customers accomplish just that. And that's really where Agentforce comes in. Agentforce provides a platform approach to build these autonomous agents across a variety of different use cases and domains, whether that's customer service, helping customers solve issues, to sales agents that can enable organizations to grow their pipeline like never before. Really, the possibilities are endless with Agentforce. But for all this to work, agents need to not only access and take action in Salesforce applications, they'll also need to do so in third-party systems. And that's where MuleSoft comes in. If you're on this call, this is not news to you, but MuleSoft has been a leader in the integration and API management space for over a decade. And our offerings include hundreds of out-of-the-box connectors, which remain incredibly relevant in the world of AI agents. Now, one thing that I wanted to clarify is that MuleSoft has capabilities regardless of the integration pattern that may be required for a particular Agentforce use case. In some scenarios, the prompt or request will come directly from the user to the agent. In that situation, the agent can then ask clarifying questions and can reason through what actions need to be taken, including calling out to external systems. Those are processes that are typically run from within Salesforce. However, other use cases, usually in processes that originate outside of Salesforce and external applications, the agent may be completing tasks behind the scenes in sort of a headless manner. And the goal there is to allow the agent to streamline the process on behalf of the human users, which can either be employees or customers. Our demonstration today will focus on that second example of an external application calling into an agent running an Agentforce. So with that, I'll introduce the story for today's demonstration, and then we'll pull up a demo recording to talk through to explain how this new offering works. So for today's demonstration, let's imagine a situation where a guest, Abigail Bowden, is staying at a hotel, Polonia Hotel. And this hotel is a boutique hotel that really prides itself on top level customer service. And upon checking in, Abigail mentions to the front desk staff that she scheduled an Uber for later in the evening for her and her daughter to go for dinner, but that the driver is canceled. The front desk worker lets her know that Polonia has a mobility team that would help her get to the event, and the way in which the front desk staff informs this mobility team is by creating a ticket in Zendesk, the ticketing system that Polonia uses to track these types of requests. So with that backdrop in mind, I will pull up the demo video and start to talk through how we power such a use case. So the demo will begin in Zendesk, and we'll be playing the role of the front desk staff member who, upon hearing from Abigail about her issue with this canceled ride, will create a ticket to ask for support from the mobility team. So we begin by selecting Abigail as the requester and tagging the ticket as a ride. We select the type as a task. And at this point, we've assigned it as a normal priority. Keep in mind keep an eye on that field, as that will change here in a second. We add a subject line, and we also wanted to highlight, we've created this custom field in Zendesk, AI summary for transportation staff. So the idea is we'll create this ticket, and then we'll allow for one of the agents in Agentforce to enrich the ticket to ensure that Abigail gets the support she needs. And we're also able to give a more white glove experience by really personalizing this and including information in this ticket about who Abigail is as a guest and as a person, so that the transportation staff can really provide her that personal service. So we added additional details here into the ticket, and we'll click Submit as New and file this ticket. So now what we'll do is we're going to go into Salesforce, and we're going to look at Abigail's contact record, just for you all to see some of the context of who Abigail is. So we come into Abigail's contact record. We see she's from Boston, Massachusetts. We'll see in a second, we'll scroll over to the right, some other relevant contact details. She's a VIP guest, which is important for the Polonia team to recognize. We also see some notes about who she is, that she's a loyal Polonia customer and that she loves Diet Coke. We see where she's from and some other contact details. So now that we've seen that contact record, let's go back into Zendesk. And what we're going to see in a moment when I start the video again is the agent is actually going to enrich this Zendesk ticket so that when the transportation staff sees it, they don't need to spend any time going into Salesforce. All the information they need to serve Abigail is right here in the ticket. So we'll refresh the ticket. And we'll see that AI summary for transportation staff field has now been populated. We also see the ticket has been updated from normal to urgent. You'll see in a moment why that happened. But essentially, we told the agent, look up if this guest is a VIP, and if so, update the ticket priority to urgent. We want to make sure that our VIPs are supported as expected. And there is additional details. We see her contact information, and we'll actually see that it's also captured some of her preferences, including the Diet Coke piece, which in this case, perhaps the transportation staff has enough time to stock the car with her favorite soft drink. We also see that we've added a comment here to the ticket to allow for both the user and the IT administration team to track which tickets are in fact enriched by agents. So that's just another component here of the integration. So now that we've seen that innovative agentic experience, let's look into how MuleSoft's connectors and tooling supported that experience. So we'll start the demo in Anypoint Code Builder, MuleSoft's next generation IDE. And what you'll see is we have a flow here that we've implemented using one of the new MuleSoft AI connectors in tandem with the MuleSoft capabilities that you all know and love. So this flow starts upon creation of a ticket in Zendesk. We can see here we've configured it to on a scheduled basis to process every 5 seconds. As we scroll further, you'll see the Zendesk ticket itself, or the Zendesk connector itself, doesn't return us the name of the requester with that new ticket created operation. So we're using this search operation to actually search for the requester ID and return it as a string, or return that name, Abigail Bowden, for our contact. We then have a transform component where this is where we're actually starting to construct the prompt that we're going to send to the agent. So in this case, we're asking for the agent to look up the contact using this name and summarize important information about who this guest is, including information about their preferences And we also recommend to optimize it for our transportation staff to give them contact information, etc. So now we'll get to the first component of our new MuleSoft Agentforce Connector, which is the start agent conversation operation. Essentially what this allows for you to do is first we'll see we are going to configure the connector to authenticate with our Salesforce instance. So we provide our client ID and client secret, and this will then allow for us to come into the connector operation and actually choose the agent of interest. So we can see here the connector filters to only surface agents that are active. And we've actually since this demo was recorded, we've made an enhancement to filter out this Agentforce default, as the API we're using from Agentforce does not allow for a surfacing of prompts to the Agentforce default agent type. So anyways, we as a user decide, okay, I want to surface this prompt to the Poloni Agentforce service agent. And we then go to our next operation. That first operation, start agent conversation, is responsible for creating a conversation or creating a session with that agent, which we then use in our subsequent operation, as well as when this is where we actually surface the prompt itself, the message to the agent, which we'll take from that previous transform component we saw earlier. And as I mentioned, we need the session ID to continue the dialogue with that agent. And then the last component we wanted to highlight in the demonstration is a subsequent transform when we actually receive the response. If you think back to the demonstration, this is where the actual change to the ticket happens. So we update the ticket priority if the payload includes VIP. We also add that comment to highlight the fact that the ticket has been enriched by the agent. And we update the custom field with the response and payload coming from our agent. And that is the end of our demonstration. I did want to briefly recap what you just saw when it comes to the capabilities of our new Agentforce connector. So our Agentforce connector really is aiming to support our customers in bringing the power of Agentforce to any application or business process. And as you saw, the connector allows for MuleSoft users to invoke agents running in Agentforce and take advantage of a number of pre-built operations to do so. It also allows for surfacing of real-time third-party data to agents to streamline business processes on behalf of their human counterparts. And as I mentioned earlier, it allows for continuous conversation, continuous communication between the external application and the Agentforce agent by managing those sessions to allow for improved accuracy and reliability. Now, the Agentforce connector is not the only MuleSoft AI connector that we have as part of our ecosystem of Anypoint platform connectors. So we just talked about the Agentforce connector. We also have a MuleSoft AI chain connector, which allows for customers to connect and orchestrate their applications, data, and AI technologies. We released this connector last year, and it really allows for organizations to bring the power of LLMs directly into their MuleSoft applications, as well as in the name, allow for you to chain together multiple LLMs. If one LLM is better at certain jobs and another is more optimized for other capabilities, you can chain together calls across them in a very seamless configuration-based manner. And then last but not least, we recently launched our Einstein AI connector, which allows for customers that want to take advantage of LLMs in their MuleSoft applications, but also wants to take advantage of Salesforce's Einstein Trust Layer to do so. So essentially, this connector operates in a very similar way as our AI chain connector, but instead of integrating and invoking LLMs directly, we're sending our prompts through the trust layer to take advantage of some of those security and governance capabilities. And these connectors fit into a broader strategy that MuleSoft has when it comes to supporting our customers in their AI and Agentforce journeys. So going left to right here, we have Einstein for MuleSoft, which is our capabilities natively in Anypoint Code Builder to allow for developers to generate new applications using natural language through a generative AI interface. So essentially, this can work in a number of ways, but conjure up a use case where a developer may be needing to build an integration application where when an opportunity closes in Salesforce, you create an order in SAP. Instead of building that application from scratch, customers can ask Einstein through this interface to generate that application, and they will scaffold that project and allow for the developer to get started much faster. There's a lot of investment going into this area, and we'll be continuing to add more capabilities beyond just integration applications, API specifications, and others. The second pillar of our strategy is our MuleSoft for Agentforce Topic Center offering, which we recently released. This essentially accelerates the process of taking APIs that you've built and managed in MuleSoft for years and easily and programmatically make them topics and actions in Agentforce so that your agents can more easily call out to external systems for data and to take action. And then we talked about the AI connectors, but they remain a key pillar of the broader MuleSoft for Agentforce strategy. So with that, I wanted to now talk a little bit about where these investments, we talked about what MuleSoft's investments are in the AI space. And these are all sort of propelling us into this agentic future. And I thought it would be worthwhile to wrap up today's presentation, talk a little bit about what we think that future will look like, and give you all a preview of where MuleSoft is headed. So this is a bit of a busy slide, but I think it does a good job of helping establish a blueprint and roadmap for customers as they start to think about their agentic maturity and establishing an agentic practice within their organization. So going from left to right, I think it does a good job of illustrating the difference between sort of legacy chatbots and copilots and agents. And it also starts to show this maturity curve to strive towards as organizations start on this journey. So as we go from sort of level 1 to level 4, agents that allow for humans to retrieve information more easily in natural language is sort of the first level, most basic form of agent. Then we go into agents that can complete orchestrations, but likely stay within a single domain, to agents that can complete complex orchestration and cross domains within organizations. And then sort of the pinnacle of this is agents to agents working together to solve problems across different stacks with your environment. And one thing that I would call out is MuleSoft is making investments in many domains when it comes to agentic integration and managing agents. And our technology and products will continue to support that. But I did want to highlight that we also at MuleSoft have a proven track record of aligning both the people and process to deliver on lofty visions. I mean, we established the sort of the term of API-led and application networks from an integration standpoint, and we will replicate that approach in our agentic world. And the last thing that I wanted to call out is this concept of integration agents. Now, our hypothesis here is that as AI agents continue to evolve and mature, and they start to work in increasingly complex settings like building software and supporting customers with customer service, our assumption is that application integration and API management will also be agentified. And as you can see in this illustrative slide, what we're trying to paint the picture of is, what if we took a previously developed MuleSoft application with many flows and subflows and transformations and other integration components, choice routers, etc. And what if we replace those with a series of well-crafted prompts to an agent that's been trained on how to handle complex business integrations? The idea here is that by evolving to this sort of agent-first philosophy, we can build more resilient, dynamic integrations, as well as build integrations faster by allowing for business analysts and business users to define some of the rules that are needed for these processes and get started faster, or maybe build integrations that otherwise would not have been developed. So we fully anticipate that in the next few years, both our customers and MuleSoft will be building and delivering these integration agents. And the Agentforce connector that you saw today will play an outsized role in delivering on that vision. So with that, I wanted to just highlight that there are some resources available. I did see in the chat earlier that Isabella will share some of these links because this presentation was at TDX. I got QR codes all over the place, but the first is the connectivity benchmark report. I mentioned that earlier and showed some of those metrics. The second is the actual Exchange page where we host our Agentforce connector, where you can learn more about how it works and link to the documentation. And then lastly, I've linked to the agent API that we are interfacing with as part of the connector, which includes some details on setup in your Salesforce environment to take advantage of this new offering. With that, I will look at the Q&A and see if we have any questions. And then I do have one last slide before we wrap things up, but let me check the Q&A.
Okay, and while Ryan's going through the Q&A really quickly for folks on the line, for those of you who joined and stuck with us today, we actually have a nice little surprise. We will be raffling off 3 certification voucher codes after today's session. So if you're on the call and you're interested in receiving a certification voucher, the caveat is you have to redeem it by April 31st. So we really are coming up on the deadline here. If you're interested, please go ahead and type into the chat interested now. You don't have to put the now part, you can just write interested. And I'll go through the transcript after today's session and we'll put it through a randomizer and picked 3 people who can get a free certification voucher. So, wow, okay, already a lot of interest, really excited to see that. We love that you want to apply your learnings. All right, folks, yeah, keep those coming. And if you have questions, feel free to pop them over in the Q&A tab now. Like I said, I'll reach out to you by end of the day if you are a recipient of one of our certification vouchers. If you don't hear from me by the end of the day, it means you're not a lucky winner, unfortunately, but we will be doing this in the future. So stay tuned and continue to join our meetups. All right, awesome. Ryan, are you ready to?
I am. I have gone through the Q&A. So the first question is, are these premium connectors or standard connectors? And these connectors are standard. They are not licensed separately. So if you own any point platform, you are entitled to use these connectors today. The second question is, are there any plans to implement MCP, Model Context Protocol, in MuleSoft? Yes, there are plans, and keep your eye out. In the next few weeks, there should be some external communications about this. But short answer is yes, we are in the process now of building a connector listener naming to be finalized to support customers' use of MCP in MuleSoft. And then the last question is around sharing the MuleSoft application. For the person who asked that, if you could just ping me either on LinkedIn or Isabella, maybe we can get them at my email. Happy to have a conversation. I'm not sure if I can actually share the application itself, but we could have a follow-on discussion to talk through what you're hoping to accomplish and answer any questions you may have. And then it looks like there was a question about the recording. Isabella, do we publish the recordings?
We do. So that will be available again by end of day today. I'll be sending out an email to everyone who has a ticket. So whether or not they attended the event today, I'll send out the recording. And then also, if you're a member of our community Slack channel, I also post our recording in those channels as well for folks who maybe join the session and want to revisit, or for those who could not join and want to watch the recording. And I'm going to go ahead, if you're not already a member of our community Slack workspace, I'm going to paste a link to join in the chat for those of you who are interested in learning more. It's a great place to join to stay in touch, and that's also like where I would connect Ryan with those of you who have questions after the event. Cool.
Awesome. And I did just see one other question come in before I have my other last slide. It's a question about IDP. The question is there any plan to further integrate IDP with Salesforce, e.g. access to Salesforce record as grounding data when answering IDP questions? I'm not super directly involved in this, but I do know that there are efforts currently to bring IDP more natively into the Salesforce ecosystem, to allow for it to do what IDP does best, which is extract unstructured data, and then be able to make use of that unstructured data in things like agents. So yes, short answer is that is in the works. I don't have a ton of the details on it, but it is being worked on.
Yeah, and if you're not, like I mentioned before, if you're not a member of our Slack workspace, go ahead and request to join now, because we will have updates about that pretty soon, and the Slack channel is the first place that will land. So stay tuned, because exciting updates are coming with IDP and Salesforce.
There was a follow-up question, which is what is IDP, which I should have answered. So intelligent document processing. It is, I've been scolded for explaining it this way before, but I think most people know this technology. I would say it's like the next generation, next evolution of OCR. So you can take things like invoices or order forms that are in non-digital formats and have LLMs and agents review the document and extract key information and then incorporate that into other integrated processes. It's a very cool product. Would definitely recommend checking it out. All right, so shifting gears, I asked Isabella if I could do this because I have a somewhat captive audience here, but another effort that I'm working on is I am working to bring a set of new connectors that were just released as part of Flow integration for MuleSoft natively as agent actions in Agentforce. So essentially what we're doing here is we're enabling customers to fast track the process, programmatically generate agent actions for external systems so that your agents can more easily traverse across different applications in your organization. So if you think way back to earlier in the presentation where I was talking about the two different integration patterns, we talked about headless use case where an external application is calling an agent. This is actually more when the agent is being invoked directly by a user. And maybe the user is an employee and they manage their backlog of tickets in Zendesk. They can, in natural language, work with the agent to manage those tickets. Or maybe they're a project manager and they use Asana. Instead of having to go into Asana and update the project details, they can do so through natural language. Or even sort of the most cutting edge use case is you have an external facing agent that works with customers. Maybe the customer reports a system outage and that leads to the creation of an incident in PagerDuty. So this is something that we're working on actively right now. We're kicking off a pilot next month. I have included a QR code. I went QR code crazy on this presentation, but if you're interested to participate in the pilot, that will lead you to a Google form and sign up. The prerequisites are you need an Agentforce instance, you need an Agentforce license. You also need to be entitled to these existing Flow integration connectors, which come with a number of the automation SKUs. So anyways, if you're interested and you think that you would like to participate in the pilot, please sign up and we will send some additional information in the next few weeks.
For those of you on the call, I just posted the link to fill out the Google Doc in our chat for those of you who are already responding that you're interested. Yeah, so please go ahead and fill out that form there, and I'll also be sure to post in our Slack channel as well.
There were a couple questions that came out of that last slide. I think the first one was about the previous topic around connectors being available in a free trial. So the Anypoint connectors that we were looking at earlier, the Agentforce Connector and others, yes, will be available in Anypoint free trial accounts. And then the next question is around sort of which orgs to use. I would say that we're targeting to work with customers that have purchased these products and are looking to get a better ROI and increase the value of the jobs that agents can complete. So I would likely dissuade folks from bringing their own personal Salesforce org. The goal is really to talk through it from like a company perspective. So hopefully that helps give some clarity there. And with that, I appreciate folks taking the time. I hope this was useful and open to feedback and input from the community as always on how we can continue to improve and provide value for you all.
Thanks so much, Ryan. We really appreciate you taking time out of your very busy schedule. For those of you on the call, he just finished running a hackathon. He is expecting in May, I think you said. So a lot on your plate. We so appreciate you taking the time to be with us this morning. And of course, to our community members who joined us, I think we've had quite this enablement schedule this past month. So we're so appreciative of everyone joining us and tuning in to hear all about our latest updates. A reminder for those of you, I'll be sending out an email with the recording from today, and I'll be following up with those certification voucher winners by end of day today. Thanks all. Bye.
Well.
Bye everybody. Thank you.